Tonight I'd like to talk about the topic of environmental justice areas in terms of what we call park deserts. Uh, the County of Suffolk has been initiating a proposal recently to acquire some open space in what we call environmental justice areas. Environmental justice areas would be areas with a significant minority population and areas where the acquisition of land for parks has not really been a priority for the county up to this point. So what they're really seeking to do is to look at maybe an inequity that has happened in the past and try in some way to overcome that and present something that would be good for communities that have been underserved in terms of parks. Um, And how do you define really an environmental justice area? That's always, an interesting debate. What makes for an area where there has been some environmental injustice? Well, some of the things we look for are communities that have been disproportionately affected by pollution. So the first thing you're looking for is this is an area where there has been some issues of either, air, water, or land pollution. And so we have to kind of take a look at that and say, well, we've got to make up for that pollution in some way. And also where there have been other environmental problems in that area. And where, secondly, there is a sizable minority or what we call a low income population. So what we do is we look at the demographic makeup of that community and we say, wow, there's a sizable minority population there. And also there is an area where the income level is lower, say, than the median income for the county. So you're looking at these factors and saying, well, this is an area where we need to make an investment to build up that area, to make it a better area. And one of the ways you can do that is through parks and through acquiring land. What are the areas in Suffolk County that have been seen to be these types of areas where there is an environmental justice issue? Those areas would be Brentwood, North Bay Shore, Central Islip, Copeg, Deer Park, North Bellport, Mastic Beach, Upton, Gordon Heights, Riverhead, Flanders, Northwest Woods, and Tuckahoe. And the Department of Environmental Conservation of New York State has made that designation. So it's not really the communities themselves, but it's the department that has looked at these areas and said, well, there's pollution in these areas, there are significant problems, and there's also a large minority or a lower income population. Christopher Sellers, who is a professor from Stony Brook University, has made the comment that land preservation to this point in Suffolk County has been mostly in wealthy and white areas up to a point, and they're trying to do something now to kind of rectify that situation and to get some balance in terms of these areas. Land preservation in Suffolk County was started in 1987. They have preserved a significant amount of land, 37,600 acres. The cost has been $1 billion, and it's been funded by a 0.25%, 1/4% county sales tax. And these areas are maintained as open space areas. So there is going to be no development of these areas. They're open space for the residents to use and for preservation purposes. The county develops a list of parcels that it wants to acquire. So they look at various areas that might be on the market and they say, well, this would be a good area for us to acquire, and we'll use the funds and negotiate a deal so that that area can be preserved. Some of the areas have been farmland areas, and the farmers still have the right to farm on those areas, but they will not sell them to a developer to build housing or to build stores. These will be open space preserved when the farming ceases. Um, in North Bellport, one of those areas, the residents have had to deal with the landfill and also many industrial areas, plus a proposed waste transfer station in nearby Yapang. So, because of the pollution from the landfill has caused some uh, leakage from the Electe into the groundwater surrounding the landfill. And so that's been a concern in terms of water pollution, air pollution, the odors from the landfill has been a concern. And so that's one of the areas that has been designated as an environmental justice area by the DEC. There's also historic inequities that need to be dealt with in terms of housing, zoning, and development. Minority communities had the least voice and the least political clout. So industrial and commercial zoning was placed mostly in these minority areas because the minority areas did not have the political clout to say, well, we don't want this in our area. And so a lot of times these industrial uses were placed in these minority areas and really disproportionately so. And so, how do we address that inequity that we see in Suffolk County? So, what we need really is a conscious effort to make up for past inequities. And we would kind of embrace this movement from a Catholic theological perspective in the sense that Pope Francis has called us in Laudate Si to particularly minister to those who have been exploited in some way, those who are on the margins, those who have suffered from the inequities of the past, and their land has been polluted. They have unfortunately not had the political significance to kind of maybe stand up for this and to say, well, we don't want this happening in our community. And so when you're dealing with it from a theological point of view, you're saying, well, we have to redress this. The earth is a beautiful gift given to us by God. We have to make sure we preserve that gift. We have to have good stewardship. And we particularly have to be careful not to exploit those who maybe are on the margins, who don't have as much political power or have not organized to this extent, or maybe don't have the wealth to make an impact on the political leaders. And so what we have to do is take a look at that and say, well, maybe there's some inequities here, and what can we do from our faith perspective to make sure that those inequities are addressed and that our people in all aspects of our community, all different income levels, have these opportunities really to have their land preserved and to have clean air, clean water, clean soil. Extremely important. So this is one movement that's happened in Suffolk County, and certainly we would support it from a theological perspective.